Welcome back everybody to another video, and today we're looking at this 6-quart Instapot which feeds up to 6 people. It's absolutely massive and it's extremely versatile. Now most people know this as a pressure cooker to do things like slow cooked beef, pulled pork, pulled chicken, all sorts of recipes inside of it, very fast and with great quality. But today I'm going to show you how to make a French onion soup inside of it and really show you the versatility of this cooker. Now we can start by looking at all the menu options here. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. There are tons and tons of options. You have soup, you have meat, you have beans, you have poultry, slow cook, saute, pressure, keep warm, yogurt. You can make yogurt inside of it, steam, porridge, multigrain, rice. It literally can do everything. And that's one of the best parts about the Instapot. So in order to get started with this demo, we actually won't need the pressure cooker lid today. Instead, I'm just going to be using a lid off another pot, which will allow it just to keep a little top on it and I can still see through it. Now, what you're going to need to do is use the saute setting. So we're going to go ahead and click saute and then press start. Now it's set to 30 minutes and that's the perfect time. So we're going to start by pressing saute. It's now on. It takes a few seconds. The first thing you're going to want to do is add your butter right in there. Now, your butter is what you're going to use with your onions to start cooking out your onions. Yes, this is a huge amount of onions and they're all going to mix in together with the butter. And we're going to let them saute for half an hour, 45 minutes inside the Instapot. Now I'm going to grab a rubber spatula so I can move everything inside very easily. So we're going to start by melting this butter and we're going to let it get a little frothy first before we start to throw the onions in there. And we know the onions are going to get nice and steamed, so that will give us a few minutes. So we'll be back in a minute once this butter is melted, and that will give us a chance to add our onions in. Okay, and here we are back. We can take a look and the butter is pretty much all melted. That just means it's time to add in our onions. So we're going to go in with our second ingredient, and that is a ton of cut onions. Now look at how much room is left, even with, I believe that's 10 plus onions inside of there. So now we're able to go ahead and give these a good mix. We want to coat them with the butter, and we're going to let these onions sweat for quite a while. We really want to give them a chance to break down and caramelize. But in order to do that, we do need to add some salt and then some sugar. Now this is going to help draw out the moisture inside the onions and also bring up any excess water and then allow it to caramelize and add a nice sweet and salty flavor inside of it. So we're going to let these go inside the Instapot now for about half an hour to 45 minutes, and then we'll come back and get started with our broth and our base. Okay, so our onions are officially done. I'm going to show you the top so you can get a good look at what they look like. Now we look at the bottom, it looks burnt, but that is just all flavor right there. So what we're going to do now is deglaze this with some broth. So I have some vegetable broth here, I have some beef broth here, but we're just going to pour some in. And this is going to help us deglaze the bottom before we add the rest of our ingredients. And then do a nice little pressure cook. That's right, we're going to utilize 2 functions of this. We did the saute method, which gave us these beautiful onions. Take a look at those. And now we're going to use the pressure cooker to finish all of this off. So now let's add the rest of our ingredients inside before we start and finish off our soup. So we're going to add some Worcestershire. I just had a few shakes in there. We're then going to add a full thing of beef broth right here. So we're going to go ahead and pour all of that in. I know it looks like a lot, but a lot of this is going to evaporate off. Okay, so we're going to add our beef broth in there. We're then going to add a few bay leaves. We're going to throw those right in there. I then have some fresh dried thyme. I'm just going to take some of that. Now, some people do use red wine. I didn't do any red wine in here. You can use that to deglaze if you want. I kept it with no red wine this time. We're then going to add some pepper directly into our pots. And I'm going to add a little bit more broth. That's just a little bit more veggie broth. And then we're going to bring it on top, give it a mix. I know it looks soupy, but like I said, keep in mind this is going to cook down and just become all flavor right here. That's right, look at that. That looks delicious. There we go. And now you can hear the nice beep telling you that it is indeed closed. Now we're going to make sure our valve at the top is closed. You can see there's a venting setting right there, and then there's a closed. We're going to make sure it is closed. That means the pressure is going to be able to build up inside. Now you only want to do this for 5 minutes. We're going to put on a pressure and we're going to lower that time all the way to 5 minutes. So it really does not need to be in there for that long for this process. And then we're going to let some of that liquid cook out after. All right, so we just got the end timer. Now the thing you're going to know about the pressure cooker, you cannot open the lid while it's pressurized. So don't worry about that. What you want to do is you want to take your little steam valve right here and we want to flip that and start releasing some of that pressure. So you can feel all that steam come out. It's not hot, it's like warm at most. Now I wouldn't keep yourself on there, but we're gonna go ahead and release that and just let it go. And that's gonna release the pressure from inside and will eventually allow us to open it up once there is enough pressure released. Now this is more of a safety mechanism, so you can make sure everything's safe. I know pressure cooker sounds dangerous and it sounds unsafe, but it really isn't. It's a completely safe machine to use, and it makes just amazing food every single time. And you're gonna see how combined our French onion soup is as soon as we're allowed to open this up. Okay, so now you can see we got that twisted off. We're gonna go ahead and open this up and look at that. Now, before I show you our final result, I want you to remember this was cooked in a matter of probably 45 minutes total with doing next to no work. And look at that French onion goodness. Now, what I would suggest doing is cooking this down just a little bit more so you can leave the lid off and put it on warm or simmer. And this is going to allow some more of that broth to cook out so you get some amazing flavor out of that and a little thicker broth, which is usually what you want with a French onion soup. So the last step, now that we have our soup cooked, we want to take a ramekin like I have here or some sort of bowl. It's totally up to you. I like using something that can be used in the oven. Now you want to scoop out, first of all, some onions. So you want lots of onion flavor in there. So I'm going to go ahead and just pack this full of onions and save some of the broth, since I didn't really give it time to cook out here. And I'll add a little bit of the broth at the end there, so we get something like that texture right there. I'm going to cancel this now that it's cooked out a little bit. Now, what I have here is just some baguette, which I baked for a little bit. We're going to go ahead and take that, and we're going to put that directly on our soup like that. Try to fit it in there. Now, what's the most important part of a French onion soup? A nice mixture of cheese. So we want to take our cheese, and we really want to pack it on there. And this is going to go in the oven on broil just to finish it off. Now you don't need to do this step. You could also microwave it if you really wanted to. But this is going to make sure that cheese is nice and crispy. And I'll come back and I'll really give you a good look of what it looks like with all this cheese melted and that nice baguette just kind of soaking up all that delicious broth. Okay, so you can now see that this was in the oven just on broil. And look at that amazing fresh French onion soup that we made in just a matter of minutes. Look at that. That's what you can make with this pressure cooker from Insta. Make sure you check it out.